What, Travis Barker can't play drums for Jay-Z? If Travis Barker plays drums for Jay-Z, only Jay-Z is the artist? The fuck does that mean? We're all artists, right? And those musicians who don't know they're artists yet, they need a boost in self-esteem and they need to learn how to release their music. So if you have an album in the works, as you as a singer, and maybe you sing better than Mariah Carey, I don't know who you are, or they don't know who you are, but you know that you sing better than Mariah Carey, but they haven't heard that yet. They've only seen you putting out a post on Facebook saying, hi, I'd like singing lessons. I'd like more singing lessons. They may think you're a shit show. You don't know how to sing. But you know that you took 18 different singing lessons from 18 different of the world's best teachers. And now you're going the extra mile to just scout the scene to see who else you can sing with. Get diverse. They don't know what's happening. Only you know what's happening. So it's understandable that they would not get fully who you are, and that's completely fine, and that's normal. And that's on the flip side, they're like, oh, this guy's too great, or this girl's too great, let's bring them down, let's like ensure they don't succeed. Like, why? If you ensure they succeed, they could pull you up with them. Food for thought. Instead of all of you dragging down and nobody succeeding, you could all succeed, right? All it takes is one phone call to change an entire life. So you want to push as many people up to where they want to be whenever they ask for help, however you can help. If it takes you 5 minutes, go out of your way, This is show business, not hide business. So it's obvious that we want to take photos to show people. And I shouldn't say I should say our careers, because I do it too. We're all human and we're all nuts. And that's what happens in life. We all make mistakes, we all learn. And maybe it's just musicians. Like, we get really sensitive about different things when we're younger. Now I'm 35, so I can speak like an adult. But at 25, emotions and ego and stuff was all over the place. Hey Zeph, thanks so much for writing. I'm not sure what that artist manager and artist are actually talking about, because we have unlimited photographer passes. And I was like, okay, right. So they don't want to give me a photography pass for some reason. Okay, so I got really inspired by Tech Lead. So I want to say thanks to Tech Lead, if he ever watches this, for inspiring me to put all the talking and bullshit conversations I have with myself on YouTube, so other people can hopefully get entertained and enjoy them. I want to talk about this tale from the music industry. Back when I was in LASALLE College of the Arts in Singapore, when I was coming up in the scene and playing drums and practicing like 6 hours a day and really like trying to, bang different chicks and, sleep around and just, what do you do as a teenager and a musician? And you mix those two together, it's pure magic and havoc and chaos and sadness, but a lot of bliss for a lot of different people. So let's jump right in. So this is a particular incident where I was playing drums for a couple of artists who were playing at another artist's show. And I'm going to break down all of that in a second, where really the most shocking things happened. And I have all the screenshots, of course, if anyone ever wants proof. So I titled this one The Arrogant Artist Manager, because that's what that person came across as that time. Of course, everyone has their own life journeys and we're going through and we're trying to improve and become better humans. But stick around for the full story. I don't know why my eyes getting clouded right when I gotta make such an important video. I was playing drums and I entered LASALLE College of the Arts as a performance major, music performance major. Popular music performance with specialization in drum kit. That's what it was called at the time. And it was a 4-year program with a 3-year diploma and a 1-year degree conversion. So I ended up getting both certifications. Shout out to people who are trying to migrate to other countries. That's counted as 2. So while my wife just got a bachelor in business management for 4 years, or was it 3 years? In 4 years, I got a diploma and a degree. And there's a lot more points to be had in the point systems of different countries when you're trying to emigrate. Now, let's get into the topic proper. So I was learning drums, I was playing drums, I was practicing. You might be a musician who's practicing. Suddenly I'm like, I want to play hip hop, because I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, and then I grew up listening to hip hop music like Linkin Park, which is sort of off the scope of hip hop, but sort of there, and just more mainstream hip hop and so on. Whatever the US media would shove down our Asian throats, no, I'm not saying they did, but it's probably good marketing dollars, and would appear in this store called Popular Bookstore and all the other CD stores around Singapore at the time. I would go buy those CDs and listen to them, right? And school and the education system was obviously so depressing that I would be locked in, although I was the first in standard because my mom made it so, well, through a lot of persuasion and, if you get first, I'll buy you this toy. And then in the end of the year, they never actually bought the toy, and I was so fucking pissed off. So I was getting more and more depressed as the years went on in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6. And I was just plugged into my Discman every moment and every chance I could get, because I was like, whoa, this is an escape that actually makes me feel alive, versus looking at assessment books where you don't actually feel alive. You just feel smart. And then you get first and you go up on stage and you get this prize that says first. And it's very glorious. You feel a glorious feeling, but meh. So I was practicing and I observed this hip hop artist coming out of Singapore. And of course, one of my goals was to play catchy drums on catchy songs, because I grew up listening to catchy songs. That's the only kind of songs I knew. Everything on the pop music radio station in Singapore, which is all #1 hits, right? And it can't be a #1 hit unless it's catchy and it makes people dance, because that's what people want to do after their boring day jobs, or so I assume. And that's why that music catches on, or at least it did in the 90s. And oh my God, those clubs were awesome. So hit on so many girls there. Okay, so that's the kind of music I grew up listening to. And then that's naturally the kind of music I would try to play to. And before drums, I was a dancer, and I actually wanted to do a double degree in dance and drums. And I wouldn't say I was a dancer like a trained dancer, but since I started listening to Michael Jackson and watching him during recess in primary school, I would like not go play soccer. Some days I would go and try to practice the moonwalk freeze, which I actually got down to, I think, something better than Michael Jackson even. Because when you zoom in on the Michael Jackson picture, you can see he's still using his toes to step there. You know, his toes are like this. His toes are like this at the front, but I was doing it like that, like literally just balancing on the front part of my toes and I only found that out years later. I guess that's what happens if you practice the damn thing every recess for like 10 years, 2 years straight. Anyway, so I was pretty good at balancing on my toes, upright like this. Okay, cool. So I wanted to dance, so I was playing dancey songs. And then I saw this, the closest to dance music, because everyone in the music scene was doing some weird shit, according to me, because I couldn't grasp different forms of music back then. They were playing rock, they were playing blues, they were playing jazz, they were playing shit I've never heard of in my life. I'm like, where have these guys been and where have I been? And I realized I was in the consumer zone, the pop music consumer zone, where you buy a CD, and, look at my miniskirt, look at my tits, you know, that kind of, the pop music sort of culture. And these guys were probably from music families, musicians as their dads, played in bars, learned blues, learned all the amazing, interesting things in music, which I didn't know shit about. And so I saw this hip hop artist play, and I just wrote him an email. I was like, hey, you're the one who I resonate with most because of all these catchy tunes you're doing. I'd like to play drums for you. And he was overjoyed that an educated music kid, not me, but it just seems like that because I went to music school, wants to play drums for him, I assume. And so he was like, hey fam, I have a show on blah, 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 this date. Would you like to play drums for it? We're playing these 2 songs. I was like, cool. I already know those 2 songs by heart because I had them on repeat because your songs were nice on YouTube. And the beats were nice and so on. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I believe that was after or before. And so before that show happened, I was having a recital in school, which was May 2012. And what you're supposed to do as a pop music student is put together a show. And for me, I grew up listening to Michael Jackson a lot. And I actually watched Michael Jackson in concert. And so to me, a recital was supposed to be like a fucking extravaganza based on as much money as I had in my bank as a student of like 22 or 23, maybe $1,000 from all the teaching I was doing at the same time I was studying, and the $300 or $400 pocket money my parents would give me every month. So I was like, this is gonna be a show. So I went to like the dance faculty and I got some cute dance girls like who were in my class, obviously not just like pick the cutest ones or whatever, just the ones I was in class with, but they were all pretty cute is what I mean. And so I got 4 of them and I asked like, could you please dance for the show? It's mostly pop music, very easy to dance. You've been, dancing to it in the clubs anyway, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, yeah, sure, let's try that. That came together towards the end and I was friends with their teachers and everything. That was awesome. That's why I like dancers and actors, because they do so much body work that you can't not be happy after doing so much physical work in a day. I think it's from all the endorphins and stuff. Whereas musicians, just like always sad and depressed kind of vibe. So I always just felt better hanging out with the dancers and actors. No offense to my musician friends. And one of the guys was actually competing with me in class. I wasn't competing with him, he was competing with me. Another story for another Tales from the Music Industry vlog. He's like, why are you such a pervert? Why are you standing in front of this dance studio and watching the dancers? And I was like, because I was supposed to be them. I was supposed to have a double degree, but the school went like, oh, there's no way you can do 2 degrees, so pick one. So since I already knew how to dance a little bit, I was like, okay, might as well learn music because I don't know jack shit about music. And so I like longingly look at them and like, oh my God, that could be me right now. Okay. So I approached this artist. He says, let's perform. Before that, I have a recital of my own. So he performs for that. And because I'm featuring him as an artist, and he was already coming up in the scene outside the music school scene, in the local scene, it was already coming up. And so that show kind of like blew up on social media. There was like, the reach was like 25,000 people. And I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, while all this is going on, there's bitching and moaning going on about my recital poster, because I put it there, Zephyr Learns to Rock. And some producer in the scene was like, why are you copying the title from Michael Learns to Rock? And I was like, it's obvious that I just changed that, to the point where you don't need to say, why are you copying? Because you just, I mean, you sound crazy. It's like if a car brand, you know, the car toys are called Hot Wheels, and somebody comes up with a new car toy, or they have a school project and they call it Shot Wheels, whatever. It's obvious that it's a play on that. You don't need to go crazy about it. Why did you copy Hot Wheels? Blah, blah, blah. Like, are you depressed? Do you not get sex? Or what's the issue exactly? Anyway, so I mean, that's another story for another day. So many stories to come out in this series. You guys are gonna love it. So, and I'm not gonna name names, obviously. So then we start to do the recital, we start to do the practices and so on. The recital goes off without a hitch. Great. Then it's his show in the holidays after that, because the school year has just ended with the recital. He's not from the music school, so he has a concert outside like a proper artist. It's at school, CHIJ, I believe it was, a girls' school. And it was so awesome because the moment I hit that drum the first time, all the kids jumped up and they were just like, not headbanging, but like bouncing to the beat the whole way through for those 2 songs of his. And I thought that was amazing. After that, we sat down at like a KFC, and he was, I mean, obviously he grew up on hip hop culture as well. And so he was acting like an American, which is fine. We all do it because that's just where hip hop is from. And he was like talking to us and he was like, hey fam. And I was like, okay. Every 3 sentences, the word fam is dropped. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it's just short form for family. At least I'm assuming that. So when you start talking to someone as your family and you start calling them fam, you sort of form a bond, right? And so we're forming this bond, and we're getting closer and we're getting closer together. And I'm like, oh wow, like these are like hip hop people who actually listen to the stuff I listen to, and I could play drums for all of them like forever. And this was great. And then comes another 2 artists who are sort of guest featuring on his next show, which started happening when I went back to the school years, about August or September. And those 2 people also happen to be very good friends and produced by my other childhood friend, who also knows this artist, by the way. And so he was telling them, like, you should get Zephyr to drum for you. And they approached me and I was like, they were like, we're guest featuring in this person's show. Do you want to play for us? And I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, I just played his show like last month, and you know, in the school concert. So yeah, let's do it. It was at the Esplanade, which is this big performance venue in Singapore. Well, not big by global standards, but big by Singapore standards, which is already quite a tiny place. So it's one of our bigger places and to perform. And so they were like, would you like to do that? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we got into rehearsals, and then I realized they don't know the first thing about even keeping a beat. And so it was literally me coaching the whole performance for these 2 guest artists, because they were bedroom artists. And what that means for those of you in the corporate space and you're watching this video on YouTube, like, what's a bedroom artist? Basically, it means you create music without all the fanfare. And while that was like a sort of underground thing like 10, 20 years ago, now it's just the way everyone creates music. So I create music in the bedroom, in this living room, wherever, without any proper acoustic treatment, but I just use my ears. And those tracks get featured on Apple Music and so on. So I'm going to link that track up here where you can see what happened from bedroom production. So they were bedroom artists, but they never had any theory. They never had. And the thing I find about singers who are untrained, who just go into singing first and never bother doing the dancing or the drumming part to the different songs, they just don't understand rhythm, and which is quite bad for music. So like I would play a beat and we're like, come in on the 2. I'm like, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, aren't you coming in on the 2? And they're like, oh, where was the 2? And I was like, shit. So because I was in music school and getting drilled in these concepts daily, I was sort of coaching their whole performance. Now, while we're doing this and I'm building my career, I'm thinking, as the performance happens at the Esplanade, I'm going to want a photographer, because I just came out of the biggest recital of my life. in 2012. And that went off great. And the reason it went off great was because I hired a photographer with my own money and a videographer who was still studying at the time. Paid them my own money to produce videos, which are, the videographer was still studying, so it was decent. It was not the best. The sound was crap. The videos were not bad. Nice effort. I can see that he's studying video, and that's cool. The photographer was already a photographer and a designer from outside, very professional guy. And the reason is because I posted those pictures and I was giving them quality to my performers, because the next day after I post all those pictures online, you can see like 25 display pictures on Facebook all change. And you realize, whoa, everyone thinks the pictures are good. And I did that. I paid that shit. They didn't pay for me. I didn't pay, I paid with my own money. And so I was like, hired the same photographer back. At this point, we were friends. And I was like, hey, there's a show coming up with this artist. I'm guest featuring on drums for this band. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be off the hook. It's at the Esplanade. It's going to be amazing. And he was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. This is my rate. And I was like, great, let's do it. So I write to that artist's manager, and this is what the whole story is about. And I said like, hey, could I get a photographer pass for my photographer? And I'm happy to share the pictures with you guys after that, and everyone can have some free publicity from my end. That's just like my gift to this whole show, along with, of course, me drumming. Oh, and they were only gonna pay $50. So I was like, $50 is like nothing. You can keep the $50. This is better because it boosts our careers forward. I don't care about the $50. And the photographer, then the artist manager wrote back and he's like, no, you may not have a photography pass because we have limited passes and they're all already used up. I was like, okay, dang, then they must have a lot of photographers for the show. So I wrote back and I was like, okay, then could you share with us the photos after they're done so that we can post them on our socials, and at least, we can benefit from this gig other than your $50, which is nothing. And he wrote back and said like, we'll think about it. And I was like, okay. So I luckily, because when I was coming up in the scene from 2009 to 2013, which was my art school years, I made friends with everyone. I networked like crazy. I reached out, I started a Facebook group for musicians, too many things, right? Running events. I was desperate to succeed in this because my parents were sort of worried, and immigrants, and also desperate to make their family succeed. So that kind of passed down to me, and it kind of brought the wrong vibe to my music pursuits, but okay. So it was like, I was thinking in my head, I gotta make this thing work in 4 years or I'm dead, like, because that's what they thought. So it's just not true in life. That's not how life works. You can start at any time and restart at any time. So that kind of brought a little bit of aggression and a little bit of panic mode into my dealings. And some musicians were like, why is he so like panicked? Like, can you chill, bro? You're releasing nice tracks. You're drumming well. Just, take it easy. Take life easy. It's cool. And I was like, no, you don't understand. It's not cool. I got to make this work at the end of 4 years. So that was hilarious. But so I wrote to the Esplanade because I was friends with them by now, the programming officer there. I still remember her name's Perlin. She was really nice. And Perlin Chai, I believe. And then, was it Tsai? Sorry, I don't speak Mandarin. I speak a little bit, but yeah. So she was like the coolest, warmest, loveliest person. I'd probably give her a hug and date her if I wasn't dating at the time. All right, so teenagers would probably date anyone. And I'm not saying that she's anyone. I mean, she's great. But what I meant was I'll date so many people because, like, it's just what guys do. Anyway, so like I wrote to her and I said, hey, look, so sorry to disturb you. I know you're busy programming the shows and all that. But could we have, if you could please give me one more photographer pass for my photographer. I guarantee you he takes good pictures. Look at the photos of my recital this last May. They were amazing. As you can see, they're like fucking fantastic photos. I should have paid him thousands of dollars. I only paid him hundreds. Could we like get a photography pass for him? He won't be intrusive. He won't like step on any guitars or whatever. Whatever it is they were worried about. They could be, I thought. And then she writes back and she's like, hey, Zeph, thanks so much for writing. I'm not sure what that artist manager and artist are actually talking about because we have unlimited photographer passes. And I was like, okay, right. So they don't want to give me a photography pass for some reason. And I was thinking to myself, surely it can't be personal because I just played for them at their concert and was great. And he just played for me, the artist just played for me in my recital, and the artist himself was calling me fam at our KFC lunch. So surely it's not the artist who's having a personal problem with me. Maybe it's the manager. Of course, I was assuming that it was a personal problem. Maybe it was not a personal problem at all. I'm just taking things personally, right? So I write back and I said, could you please explain why, you're not giving me a photographer pass? Because I just wrote to my friend, who's the programming officer for the Esplanade, who's also in charge of this show, by the way, and she said that photography passes are unlimited. So what's the issue exactly? And so he wrote back, and this whole thing got messy because in Singapore, or maybe it's in a small music scene, or maybe it's because it's up and comers, I'm not sure. And maybe it's just musicians. Like, we get really sensitive about different things when we're younger. Now I'm 35, so I can speak like an adult. But at 25, emotions and ego and stuff was all over the place. He wrote back, apparently he had a bit of an emotional and ego kind of thing going on as well. And it was like, the reason we're not giving you a photography pass is because then everyone's going to want one, and then it's going to be chaos. Well, there's only 6 artists performing in the show. Even if they each want one in the entire set, if they each want a different one, that's still only 6 photographers running around a 700 or 800 seater venue. How is that an issue exactly? They can just line up at the front of the stage and take pictures. Like, what's the big deal? And this is not a venue where people have a mosh pit or anything like that. In Singapore, it's very controlled. So we all sit down at the front of the Esplanade stage and watch like good children, just like that and like that. But to be fair, the vibe is also nice like that when the sun is setting and there's an ocean in front. But still, some of the sets, you just can't help but want to dance, right? You see it all the time. The Singaporeans are sitting down. The foreigners, you see all these foreigner chicks on vacation, or like shaking their hips and stuff in the stands. But anyway, so in this sitting down at a venue, the photographers could have just been at the front. There's no chaos or anything. So I wrote back and said, well, I do hope you could get a pass for me. If not, I could just get one direct. Because as you know, you're only paying me $50 for this gig, which is nothing for an event. And well, I'd at least like to take this as a milestone or a stepping stone to my career and get something out of it in return for contributing to playing to the gig. And it's not like I'm asking you to give me free photos. I'm talking about giving you free photos. I'm paying the photographer and I'll share the pictures with you. And the photographer's cool with that too. What's your problem? Of course I didn't say, what's your problem? I said, I hope you can understand that and blah, blah, blah. Then there was no reply. And apparently these 2 artists, these bedroom artists, were so scared of the actual industry and scene, and this was like a big deal for them. Well, those of us in the music scene and music school are basically on stage like every night. So, and I totally understand the fear. I was like that at the start too, of course. And so they were like, whoa, my God, dude, you emailed the artist manager. Whoa, you shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, yo, this isn't Michael Jackson's manager. This is a person who can't afford to pay us $50. We're all beginners right now. Let's not act like anyone's a diva here. This is a music scene. It's a community. We're all trying to do our part. I'm trying to help by paying. They're the ones being difficult. What's the issue? I don't see an issue. This is show business, not hide business. So it's obvious that we want to take photos to show people. It was that. And I was like, what's the problem? And they were like, oh, it's this and it's that. At that point in my life, I was on a personal development trajectory as well. As you may or may not know from my other channel, 3-Part Human, which I'm going to link above so you can check that out if you're having any issues with your life. And I was like, yo, this is way too much toxicity. I don't need this shit. I'm leaving. So I left the gig, and another synth player who I had also hired to play for this gig, he was also on the phone with me, and he was like, dude, you screwed it up. Man, you kind of pulled a fast one on yourself. You lost this opportunity. And I'm like, sorry, but I don't see playing with artists who are arrogant when they've achieved and nothing yet to be an opportunity. I just don't see that as an opportunity. For me, everyone has a different life journey. Different things are opportunities to different people, depending on which way they want to grow and which direction they want to grow in. So if that's an opportunity for you, you're right. I screwed up an opportunity in your mind. In my mind, that's not an opportunity, right? There are other things which are opportunities which serve my growth better. And the people are much nicer and blah, blah, blah. And whatever you prefer in life, that's an opportunity for you. That's not an opportunity for me though. This is just turning into a mess, I said. And so on and so forth. And so that was my exchange with the manager. And then at one point he said something in the email And no, that is not an invitation for you to send more beats over. Because me and the other producer were producing these two acts, formed a duo and decided to produce tracks and send them out to different artists. Because I was very interested in production, because in the music degree, I realized the only way this music thing is going to get real ever and a real output is putting out the tracks so audiences and online, can listen to them. That's how you become an artist. Like if you're just I'm going to cover more on another channel called Modern Recording Artist, where I teach you how to release your music in the easiest way possible. It's not there yet because I'm only one guy and I have a family and I got a ton of things to do, like a day job and so on, and this YouTube channel. So it'll be there soon, but I'll try to link that as well above. And so we were producing, and he was like, that's not an invitation for you to send more beats over. Like, okay. So throughout the years, this guy with me just got a bit more and more and more arrogant. And at some point I was wondering, does he have a death wish or something? I don't mean an actual death wish, obviously, because I'm just not a violent type of person. But I mean a career death wish. Because if you keep doing this to people who are going places in their career, and a simple Facebook search at that point would have, sort of brought it up. And I'm going to cover that in the next part of this video, the lessons that we can all learn. But I was just wondering, why would you do that to someone who's obviously going places? You saw the crowd at the recital I played at. You saw what we did with that kids concert, in that secondary school. You're seeing what I'm doing online. There's media features happening. There's stuff happening. Things are growing. I'm networking with different industries, captains of industry in different areas, wonderful ladies, wonderful men, wonderful people doing wonderful things in different areas, in the marketing space, in the sales space, entrepreneurship, learning and development, music, obviously, showbiz, acting, dancing, so on and so forth. I mean, dance teachers in other schools are sending me back videos of them choreographing their classes to my songs, right? Of course, I'm not saying I'm that famous that they started doing that and just send me fan mail. I'm saying they did something nice back for me when I told them I released a song. But that itself shows the kind of reach that a person like me would have into the industry long term. Whether it's because I'm a good musician, whether it's because I release good tracks, or whether it's just because I'm a nice human liking to collaborate and network. Why would you act rude or insulting or mean to a person like that? Why? We are the people who make the scene grow. Everyone has a different role in life. I've been told this several times spiritually. You have certain gifts that are given to you, whether you like them or not. For example, I don't think teaching's glamorous at all, but I tend to be a natural teacher. And many of my students and their parents and people 20, 30 years older who are friend of the MP in Britain, have told me man, you have some solid mentoring energy inside you. And I was like, I have noticed. I don't like it necessarily. I don't think teaching is the most glamorous thing. It's tiring, but I do realize I have that gift, which then means that if you want to serve the earth and the planet, you got to use the gifts that you're given, whether you like them or not. You got to be humble enough to let them come through and shine through for the other humans that, you're giving these gifts out to. So if you just do a simple Google search of me now, you can see what I'm up to, or a LinkedIn search, right? And at that day and age, that was about 2012, I believe, that my artist manager was on my Facebook. We were all on Facebook. Obviously, it's the entertainment scene. Everyone knows everyone. In 10 seconds, you could see from my profile that I'm up to something good. So why would you want to be rude to someone like that and have me shut you out forever? I'm not saying I'm going to be greater than you in terms of career always. No. What I'm saying is we would each have different useful things that we can bring to the table. Now, if I monopolize or go really hard into this particular useful thing, that could be music marketing. I might become the music marketing person in Singapore one day. Maybe not. It's just an example. I might become a coach for musicians. I might become a friend of all the festival organizers in India or in Los Angeles, because my career path may take me there. It might not even be my career path. It might be my wife's career path. But because I can tag along as a creative, I might make friends with all the promoters there. I could get your artist booked, maybe, it is an example, in LA for 50 shows straight. Make them $100,000. Why would you say no to that? Why would you clearly be rude and mean to someone who's doing well and has been doing nothing but be kind to you? Play at your shows for no pay, just for exposure. Volunteer to pay for a photographer to give you photos for your artist. Why would you shut someone like that out? It's crazy. It's crazy to me what people do at the start of, and I shouldn't say I should say our careers, because I do it too. We're all human and we're all nuts. And that's what happens in life. We all make mistakes. We all learn. Recently, I saw Jocelyn Cha's comedy clip about Malaysia, if you haven't checked that out yet. And I'm going to write to her because I really enjoy her comedy. I think she has a lot of spark and a lot of spunk and even a sort of mean streak. I don't have a mean streak, but sometimes I could, just on the pretext of humor and just to give everyone in my house a good laugh. The people I know who are visiting, you know, and we're having a good time, I know it's a joke, they know it's a joke. Nobody's feelings are hurt or nothing of this sort. But yeah, I wouldn't joke about MH370. I mean, I still think, I've heard so many theories about it that it could be like a scam or, a conspiracy theory, or it could be like, an actual thing that happened and nobody knows about the plane. And, there's so many possibilities, and it could be so sad for the families. And if you're a family member of someone, watching this, and I apologize that that event's being made fun of. I wouldn't want something like that to be made fun of. It's quite painful. Like recently, a guy sort of touched my wife against her will, and if anyone made fun of that, I would probably slap them silly. Not in Singapore because it's illegal to raise your hand at anyone, which is kind of crazy if you ask me. But well, actually, I guess it's all for the better. But yeah, so it would be kind of painful that somebody's joking about your family's death if MH370, if your family went down in that plane or whatever. So I understand that. But why would you do that to someone? Why would you shut somebody out? So now let's talk about the lessons, right? This is not my teaching channel. My teaching channel is 3-Part Human, but there I want to specifically teach and very specific tips without all the rambling and experiences, just mind, body, spirit. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. That's that kind of channel. Check that out. But this channel is more about just me sharing about life and things and tales from the music industry. So why would you do that to someone? So the lesson here, there's so many lessons, right? One of the first lessons for all of us is don't discount and shut out potential contacts, friends, and other artists. Don't rub them the wrong way. Oh, and I forgot to mention that he said in the email, I hope you understand. No, he didn't even say I hope you understand. He just said, do note, this show is not about you. It's about the artist. When I asked for the photography pass, I was like, we're not all artists? What, Travis Barker can't play drums for Jay-Z? If Travis Barker plays drums for Jay-Z, only Jay-Z is the artist? What the fuck does that mean? We're all artists, right? And those musicians who don't know they're artists yet, they need a boost in self-esteem and they need to learn how to release their music. So check out Modern Recording Artists. But, everyone's an artist. So why would you be mean? Why would any of us? It's a lesson for all of us. I'm not going to name names here. I've learned from this. No matter, even if in your mind you think this person's difficult to deal with, they could be an invaluable contact for the long term. Try to do things their way if you can. Of course, if it gets toxic, then don't. But if you can, try to do things their way as far as possible. Because do understand, we're having an exchange here. If I get Rihanna, right? Like Calvin Harris was mentioning in an interview that Rihanna recorded overnight for one of the songs she did with him. They did it in the studio all day. She was a professional. She ended at night, 5 a.m. throughout the night. And then boom, she was gone. He mentioned something about her being uncontactable or something. I don't know what he said now, but he said something to the effect of he was craving more of her presence, but she left. So after doing the song well, of course, but he wishes they could have done more songs together and so on. So if that's her way, for me, I have massive separation anxiety. I bond with people I'm friends with. I bond with people I make tracks with. In my mind, somebody I made a track with is my best friend forever. I've realized over time that that's not how it works in their head. One of the guys I once made a track with was actually starting to badmouth me on Instagram. And I wrote to him, I called him, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Aren't we friends? What the fuck just happened? He was like, no, I thought you were lying about this thing. There was a certain thing, a family thing. I don't want to get into that right now. And I was like, why would I be lying about my own daughter? What are you talking about? What? I was like, have you been hanging around negative people for way too long? You distrust the whole planet? I made a song for you. All you did was reach out on LinkedIn and say, here are my lyrics. I turned it into an entire fucking song that's released. Why would you badmouth me on my own Instagram? What's wrong? I thought we were friends. What happened? What? Shouldn't you call me if something happened? Why you? then he's like, yeah, then we met up and he was like, no, I apologize. I'm sorry about that. I spoke to my wife and she looked at your Facebook feed and she was like, this is a super nice guy. Why are you fucking with him? What did he do to you? And then he's like, I'm so sorry. I messed with the wrong guy. Like, not in a scared way, but what he meant was, you're like an honest guy. You're obviously not lying about this stuff. I'm sorry about that. And now we're friends again. So like, you know, why would you, we need to learn how to try to do things in another person's way, and we understand the exchange there. So if Rihanna leaves and I go like, oh man, I'm so sad that she left, oh man, and let's say I'm not balanced, and I go, how could she do that? How could she leave? I've worked with producers like that before too, who get really butthurt at everything, but that's just their own emotional journey and their own trauma from their other parts of their lives, you know. So we need to try our best, at least that's what I do, is we try to play to other people's playbooks if it's their services we're taking. Of course, if you realize, no, I absolutely don't want to play in this playbook in this way, then you don't work with them. That's fine, right? But of course, there are tricky parts where you didn't realize the person was like that when you started working with them, and then they become like that. So there's that too. So that shit's crazy. But yeah, happy exploring. So another lesson we can learn is, and I learned this too, is sometimes if you're playing for an artist who's supposedly more famous than you, or they think they are anyway, they might think they're the main artist for the show, and that's fine, and that's great, and that's good, and you support them that way. And if they say like, no, you just stand there and act like a backup singer, although you're like freaking, you know, Sam Smith, just act like my backup singer for this show. Okay, take instruction from them if you want to. It's their show. Literally, it doesn't say Sam Smith on the poster, it says Ed Sheeran and 18 other backup singers who are the who's who from around the planet. It might say featuring Sam Smith. Of course, Sam Smith's marketing team might be like, yo, hello, you should say featuring Sam Smith. But you know, so work that out and decide where you stand in that equation. It's never wrong. I feel like when you come from a humble place and music is nice and you enjoy music, you could do your own publicity. You could just say like, playing with this person tonight and whatever, and they don't necessarily have to feature you and make it a huge deal that you're on stage with them, and that's fine. The issue at that point in that particular incident that I mentioned was because we were both coming up in the scene, we were both around the same age. It's just that you're rapping and I'm drumming, but I have a flamboyant personality and I was marketing my drumming as such. So I'm an artist too. And since then I've gone on to release tracks and so on with me on vocals. So I don't think they understood that this guy is sort of like a mini Ed Sheeran or a mini legacy artist. You know, those artists that they did everything themselves. Like how Michael Jackson would write his own songs, produce his own songs almost fully, dance on them, you know, be in the music video, so on and so forth. So people may not know, to give them the benefit of the doubt, what you're up to and what you have planned for the next 20 years. They just see what you've presented so far. So far, they were like, it's just some kid playing drums. Like, why is he acting like he's about to do great things? Because I knew I was. Because I wanted to, is what I'm trying to say. Because I was aspiring towards great things. As great as they can be anyway. And of course, definitions of great change along the years. At 20, my definition of great was becoming famous. At 25, my definition of great was making great songs. At 30, my definition of great was making songs that can pay bills. Now at 35, my definition of great music is music that makes people feel something and it doesn't interrupt with my family's flow. I don't go like, I'm disappearing for 2 months to make music when I have a family. So your definition of great changes along the way. And so, you know, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't know who you are fully anyway. Even at the moment, they might not see, because people don't see what's inside you. They see what you're presenting. So if you have an album in the works, as you as a singer, and maybe you sing better than Mariah Carey, I don't know who you are, or they don't know who you are, but you know that you sing better than Mariah Carey, but they haven't heard that yet. They've only seen you putting out a post on Facebook saying, hi, I'd like singing lessons, I'd like more singing lessons. They may think you're a shit show, you don't know how to sing. But you know that you took 18 different singing lessons from 18 different of the world's best teachers, and now you're going the extra mile to just scout the scene to see who else you can sing with, get diverse. They don't know what's happening, only you know what's happening. So it's understandable that they would not get fully who you are, and that's completely fine, and that's normal, and that's just the human mind and the human brain and the 5 senses, you know. But of course, some of us have a 6th sense So we know what's up. We could tell instantly if this is future talent or this is just, well, someone not very talented. But again, I don't believe in talent, I believe in skills. And I'll explain why more in another video. Like, a lot of people come up to me, although I haven't done shit in the music scene according to me. I've released like 5 songs, which are just like, and people are all like, whoa, you're like talented. I'm like, I think what you mean is skilled, because I've just spent a lot of time doing these things, so you get good at them. You spend time speaking, you get good at speaking. You spend time in front of the camera, you become not shy. I know people who would have this appearance and be fucking shy to be on camera. They'd be like, I'm bald, I don't have hair, my arm's not filling out my t-shirt. I mean, this is a baggy t-shirt, to be fair. But, you know, and they'd be like, you know, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I don't know what you're talking that I'm doing, what you're saying I'm doing. I'm just being me, and so on and so forth. So the next point that we want to learn from each other, maybe, is just to be more kind and more loving. So just be kind and more loving, and accept different people at the stages they're at, and be like, actually, I'm going to tie this in with initiative and class and some other things I picked up from my parents. So for me, anyone who's ever played with me in a show that I created, and that I created well to the way I wanted to, they're going to get free photos, they're going to get videos, they're going to get a lot of shit that they can use as their marketing material, even if I can't pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars to perform because I'm not that famous yet, or might never be, right? But they're going to get an experience where people are going to be like, damn, this Zephyr guy, what a nice experience it was, like, playing with him. Like, he didn't pay a lot, but he gave us a lot of publicity, he tagged us in all the posts religiously, wrote a blog article. Man, my name's all over the internet right now. It's a boost in publicity for me. I don't even pay for that fucking publicity. It's just free, because he's a nice guy and he knows what he's doing. And he understands that other artists who perform, or other people he features in interviews or whatever, need publicity, right? Just be nice and be classy and go the extra mile, you know? And when you have people like that, treasure them, you know, in your life. Like, some of you and some of us sometimes are so insecure, and I've seen this in the music scene a lot, where people are like, oh man, just shut up and be quiet. Or they're on the flip side, they're like, oh, this guy's too great, or this girl's too great. Let's bring them down. Let's like ensure they don't succeed. Like, why? If you ensure they succeed, they could pull you up with them. Food for thought. Instead of all of you dragging down and nobody succeeding, you could all succeed, right? All it takes is one phone call to change an entire life. So you want to push as many people up to where they want to be whenever they ask for help, however you can help. If it takes you 5 minutes, go out of your way, you know? It results in more successful people on the planet doing all the things that we like. And eventually, my theory is all humans can do that. Because literally this entire planet could work great if everybody just did what they wanted. Granted, some people ask like, well, what does that mean? Well, who's going to cook the food, mate? Somebody's got to cook the food. Even if nobody wants to cook, they just want to eat. Everyone just wants to eat. Who's going to cook? Like, yeah. So as humans, once we're all doing exactly what we want to do, and on day 2, everyone's fucking hungry, as humans who love each other, we're going to come to a consensus. It could be like, okay, on Monday, you're going to cook. On Tuesday, you're going to... That's how we do it. Or we all cook a little bit and share the food. You know, whatever. We're humans. We're intelligent creatures with an amazing species. We're going to be able to come out with a solution quick, fast, if we all put our minds together. So I'm going to cut here because I could go on talking for hours. Like, and this should be my whole channel, actually. It should be tons of me talking, because that's what I do 5 times a day anyway. And I realized I haven't put it all down on video. So like, what am I waiting for? That's crazy. Like, one of my success coaching clients could come back to me and go, Zeph, you're not listening to your own advice. You're not like, you know, benefiting the planet like you said you want to. I mean, I am, obviously, but I could put out a lot more. And I think that's the fear of being perfect. It's just like, oh, it's not produced well. It's not a great YouTube video. You're not dressed up in like a jacket looking fly and shit. You're like sitting here in an oversized t-shirt, which makes you look puny, and your head is bald. You look like a monk. Well, I am talking about life, am I not? So I think it's fine that I look like a monk. But yeah, so fear of not being perfect kind of thing. But yeah, that's my chat for today. Tales from the music industry. The arrogant artist manager. Hopefully he's no longer arrogant. I removed him from my LinkedIn a while ago because I was cleansing spiritually, and if you'd like to know what that is, you check out my other channel, 3-Part Human, where I talk about all that kind of stuff. It's too much stuff to talk about in one video. My muscles are starting to ache like crazy, and I want to maintain good posture while speaking on camera. So that's all for this video. Thanks. If you liked it, hit like. If you'd like to see more such videos, and maybe up level yourself, or maybe this is not up leveling you, maybe this is too gossipy for you. This is the first kind of video I made like this, not to gossip, but just to let it out, because I need to release these things. And I told myself, hey, eventually I'm going to write a book about it, sure, but right now I just want to get this out there. And if this is the day, if today's the day, I told myself yesterday, you got pimples on your face, doesn't fucking matter. Your hair doesn't look great, doesn't fucking matter. Your arms don't look great, doesn't fucking matter. The decor behind you, like here, is my mom's decor in her house, doesn't fucking matter. It looks pretty nice actually, it's kind of colorful. And blue for intuition, you know, dark blue. Okay, if you're into chakras and that type of stuff. So if you want more such videos, maybe it's entertaining you, maybe it's not up leveling you, it's just entertaining you, go forward and subscribe. And if you want to know when I release new videos, then hit the bell icon. Take care, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Okay.